Nebraska is not a blue state. It's not even a purple state. It is solidly a red state. And an independent candidate, the gentleman you see right next to me, is running as an independent, and polling indicates that he's doing real well. So his name is Dan Osborn. He's running as an independent for a Senate seat in the red state of Nebraska. And it might be hard to believe because, again, Nebraska is super Republican. They have, let's tell you how Republican they are. Nebraska has voted for a Republican president every year since 1964. And a survey conducted in November shows that respondents favor former President Donald Trump over Joe Biden by a margin of 16 points. So it gives you a sense of where the political loyalties lie here. But according to the poll, which was conducted by Change Research, Nebraskan voters actually prefer Osborne to the current Republican Senator, Deb Fischer, who's actually held that seat for 10 years now. The poll shows Osborne leading Fischer by a margin of 2 points, despite 59% of respondents saying they had never heard of him before, which is insane. Now, we're gonna get to his platform, and I think that has something to do with this. But pollsters asked a series of questions regarding Osborne's policy platform, after which 53% of respondents said they'd vote for him, compared to 30% for Fischer. So in other words, they were told what his policy positions were, and the poll results changed to overwhelmingly supporting Osborne over Fischer.
Yeah, guys, this is an amazing story and potentially very, very impactful for American politics in the future. So there's a number of factors here. Number one, when I first saw the story, I thought, oh, they're just getting the Osbornes confused, because Tom Osborne was the legendary football coach of the University of Nebraska, and he was actually a Republican congressman for a little while. And I'm like, oh, they think they're voting for another Republican, and one that's super popular in Nebraska. And it turns out, no. 59% of the people who said they never even heard of him, as Anna just told you, because, well, so what does that indicate? That indicates they're saying, no, I don't think he's Tom Osborne. I have no idea who he is, but I'll take him over the Republican Senate.
Yeah, it's amazing. And his support grew once the respondents understood what he wants to champion as a United States Senator. Okay, so by the way, let's talk about the breakdown, the political breakdown of the respondents to this survey. 33% of poll respondents were Democrats, 14% independent, and 53% Republican. 53% said they voted for Trump in 2020, while 35% said that they voted for Biden.
But they still are voting against the Republican in Nebraska's Senate race and in favor of the independent, even though they voted in such giant margins for Trump. And it's not theoretical. Those are the same people answering the same question. So that means, yes, it's real, it's real. So I'm gonna tell you why in a second, but Anna's got more.
So number one, it should be noted that he refuses to take donations from corporate PACs. So he is obviously strong in being against corruption, which has become a virus in our political system. And his policy platform looks pretty good. Now remember, he's running as an independent in a red state, but there are some really strong progressive stances here. First of all, he wants to cut taxes for the middle class and small businesses by cutting wasteful spending and closing loopholes used by multinationals to avoid paying taxes.
That's very popular and not at all the Republican plan. The Republican plan is open up bigger loopholes for multinational corporations.
He wants to legalize and tax medicinal cannabis. Honestly, at this point, that's such a no-brainer that I don't even want to give anyone credit for that. I just think it should be a given, but good, he's right on that issue. And wasteful government handouts to the pharmaceutical industry, which is super yummy in my tummy. I love that.
Over 90% of Americans agree with that, and over 90% of politicians don't.
But get a load of this. He wants to pass the PRO Act, which is a pro-labor bill that would make it far easier for people to organize their workplace and join a union. So he's clear on being in favor of the PRO Act, and he also wants to pass congressional term limits. So Osborne does support an increase to the federal minimum wage, but it is unclear in regard to how much he would want to increase it. The only thing he has stated on that issue is that he wants to raise the federal minimum wage to match that of Nebraska's. And if you're wondering what that is, the current minimum wage in the state of Nebraska is $10.50, but that will increase to $15 an hour by January 15th of 2026. And Osborne also supports right to repair laws, a competitive wage for servicemen and women, better protections for family farms, and lower taxes on overtime wages. And the Post actually sums up his policy platform pretty well. Let's take a look at this. So his post on X, he says, we had main streets crowded with small businesses, an AG sector full of family farms, a heavily unionized workforce. We had the greatest economy in the world. We can't forget that. So yeah, I mean, I really do think, look, this is a case study for what I think we've been arguing on the show for many, many years now. It doesn't make sense for Democrats to run as Republican light in even Republican districts or Republican states. Whether you're Democrat or Republican, your economic situation matters, and that is what most voters prioritize. It's the economy, stupid. So what can you do to materially improve the lives of voters? If you can show how you want to do that, if you can show that you're actually sincere in wanting to do that, I think you're more likely to win, even in a deeply red state like Nebraska.
Okay, so super important lessons for American politics out of this. Number one, independents are now much stronger than they used to be, and a lot of the media has not caught, and a lot of the politicians have not caught up to that fact. When I was growing up, independents were a small group, Republicans and Democrats were very large. Now there are more independents than there are Republicans or Democrats. But no one talks like that. Like when you go watch cable news, are they talking about, well, the biggest political factor in the country is independents? No, they only talk about Republicans and Democrats when the country is vomiting Republicans and Democrats. So here comes an independent in Nebraska and he's kicking the Republicans' asses, right? Obviously, let alone the Democrats. So that's point number one. Point number two is now there is a significant anti-incumbent fervor. It has begun. It has taken forever. So no matter how much people hated Washington my whole life, you would ask them in polls, do you hate Washington? Yes. Do you hate your own senator? They'd be like, no, my senator's the only good one. Why? Because they got propaganda from local news and their local area saying, oh, Senator Fischer is so great. Oh, Senator Fischer, oh, yeah, right? Now they're not listening to that crap anymore. And here, I'll give Republican voters credit, as I do often in situations like this, where they're more anti-incumbent than Democrats are. Democrats should be furious at their corrupt incumbents, but they have been brainwashed by MSNBC and mainstream media. No, we must always support the powerful and authority figures and incumbents. Oh, they are only help against Republicans, right? They never win, right, on policy issues, but that's what people have been trained to. But Republicans, you can't, like the upside of them going rogue is they don't want to hear any crap about how great politicians are. So this Fischer lady's coming in Nebraska, like, oh, I am a beloved Republican. They're like, get. Yep. The other guy's in favor of family farms and family businesses and unions and labor. Yeah, that guy.
Improving people's lives. By the way, let me just also note, no Democrat is running in this race because it's Nebraska. So a Democrat thinks like there's no chance I can win. And quite honestly, I think Dan Osborn is running as an independent because branding himself as a Democrat would probably be a liability in this race. But it doesn't matter. What the voters are receptive to are his policy proposals here, which is good news. By the way, Cenk, you might be right about one thing. The voters might actually be familiar with him because he led a labor action in the state of Nebraska that got a lot of positive attention. So what am I referring to? Well, he has, of course, been supportive of unions, and he actually served as the president of the Bakery, Confectionery, Tobacco Workers, and Grain Millers International Union Local 50G. Lengthy name, but you guys get the picture. So in 2021, he actually led his local union strike against Kellogg's, where he works. So the strike lasted a whopping 77 days, during which Kellogg's threatened to replace every single one of those striking workers. But the company eventually came to the table, and according to the Intercept, the workers won a pay raise of $1.10 per hour, a new cost of living pay increase, and also a pathway for lower tier workers to graduate into a higher tier of pay. So he's actually been like walking the walk. He doesn't just talk the talk through his policy proposals. He's actually been on the front lines with labor. He's part of labor, and he has fought for better pay and better working conditions for workers in Nebraska. He's also pointed to that very experience as proof that Americans have much more in common than we realize. So let's go to the last graphic here. He says, when our strike preserved 500 middle-class jobs at Kellogg's, we received support from Republicans, Democrats, independents, small businesses, non-union workers. Maybe America isn't as divided as they say. And I love that message because, again, I really do believe, I've been saying this for a long time, when it comes to a lot of the bread and butter issues, there's a lot more commonality, a lot more agreement among Americans than the media would have you believe. Where you see the divisions is usually in culture war issues that are further turned into wedge issues by the very politicians who do not want you to focus on how they should be improving your financial stability. Let's keep it real.
Yeah, two more amazing trends out of this that are important. One is, he's only raised $100,000.
Amazing.
So the Fischer, of course, has millions upon millions of dollars, and in the old days, you just buy the election. But these days, it's harder to control people through political ads. One, they think the political ads are horse crap, and they're right. And number two, the message is getting out because he's doing it on Twitter, he's doing it on social media, and he doesn't need as much money. Oh, I love this. And then finally, what Anna started with. Look at the policy. We told you guys, the policies are incredibly popular. He's beating a Republican in Nebraska. Why? Because he's going with economic populism. He's going with serve the average American, serve the middle class, serve small businesses, not large businesses. Stop being corrupt, and it's working. But let's be honest, there's one important factor there. Economic populism, but no culture war stuff. So if you go towards culture wars, then you start losing the independent voters and the Republican voters, etc. You might hate that, and you say, oh no, I want him to be a culture warrior for our side. Well, sorry, he's not gonna win if he does that.
So he's not gonna win if he runs on that in Nebraska, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's doing the smart and right thing, which is he's not talking about those issues at all. I don't even know his opinions on those issues, right? But he's saying, no, we're gonna deliver economic populism, and it is working better than anyone expected. This is what we've been saying for so long on TYT. And you see it now working on almost no money at all.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. We also love it if you hit the join button below because that makes you a member, and members allow us to be independent, honest. We can be as progressive as we want, no corporate media influence, and that's all because of you guys. We love doing the show with our members. Hit the join button, become one of the Young Turks.